Hello and welcome to an update video on my shower filtration system. So in this video we're actually going to have a mess about with the filtration system and perfect it, get it working out. I imagine it will be working for the long distant future hopefully. And let's talk about comparing it to the actual river which it replaced, and also they're using the exact same media, so they should be just as good as each other. Unfortunately, that just doesn't seem to be the case. So I do know that it's been a year really since I had the river on. So the fish have all grown. I haven't added any fish. In fact, I've removed a couple of fish. But I haven't added any to this pond. But they have got bigger. So, you know, I kind of expect the ammonia to be a little bit worse. But when I had the river on, it was pretty much guaranteed what the ammonia level was going to be. So at the minute, I'm feeding between 1 and 2 kilos of food a day. When I had the river on, I could pretty much guarantee that between 1 and 2 kilos of food a day, I'd get a 0.1 milligram per litre ammonia. It'd fluctuate, you know, 0.09, 0.08 to 0.15, something like that. But it'd be around that, you know, tolerance level of any inefficiencies with the testing. However, with the shower filtration and the exact same media, it seems to be hovering around 0.4 milligrams per litre. So my water temperature at the minute is 14 degrees and the pH is 7.2. So 0.4 milligrams per litre is nowhere near an issue for this pond, and the fish have been doing really well. They're really happy, they're really well eating, not a problem. But when it comes to summer, when I'm maybe feeding more, when the fish are even bigger and stuff like that, I might be causing myself a lot of trouble. So I do want the ammonia level to be consistently around that 0.1 milligrams per litre, especially when I'm feeding heavy. And if I'm not feeding heavy, I want it to be 0. So what am I doing to get this result? I'm putting Bakki house media on it. So this stuff is eye-wateringly expensive, and I've still got a bit of a tear in my eye from paying for it. But I think it's necessary. I was really trying to avoid spending any money on this stuff, but I'm going to have to give it a go. I have no other choice at the minute. So I've used Bakki house media before in ponds that I've built for people, and you know, put it in shower filters, and it's been really good. It is a really good shower media. It probably is the best shower media, and that's probably why they charge so much for it. But you know, it works, so I'm going to give it a go. I don't think Cyprax is the best thing to put in a shower. I never did. It's just I had it. So we'll have a look at the Cyprax when I get it out of the shower filter and see how it looks, see if we can figure out what's been going wrong with it. It is still, I mean, 0.4 milligrams per litre is obviously still working, but not working as well as it did in the river, and not working as well as I wish it was. So let's put this Bakki house media in, and while I'm at it as well, I'm going to have a few alterations to the filtration system. I've got a couple of ideas in mind, but not exactly sure on what I'm going to do yet. But I'm going to make some alterations to the filtration system to finally perfect it and perfect the airflow circulation in it. So hopefully I don't have to mess about or worry that it's going to airlock my pumps anymore, which has been a bit of a concern in the past. So let's go and have a look at the filtration in the basement. So here we are, quick walk round before we end up having to take all this bit off. I'll skip all this removing it, because with all these bolts it's just a load of me swearing, to be honest, so I'll just skip that bit. Obviously I'm going to have to release the pressure in it and stuff like that. I've also got a bit of a plan. So I've got this gauge on it that lets the air come out. So the air pump's pumping in constantly, and this lets the air come out. When I set it to about 14, it works perfectly. The water level stays pretty much exactly where I need it. Still fluctuates up and down a little bit, and occasionally it lets a little bit in, a little bit of air into the pump, but the pump can handle it and it just blows it out. As you can see at the minute, the water level's just there. So when the drum filter comes down, it'll probably let a little bit of air into the pump, which is not a problem, it's been really fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put this thing in. So I've got this, and basically there's a float switch here, and then another one just here at the bottom. And I wanted to put that just about there like that. And I'm going to set it on a bunch of solenoids or something, so when this one drops, it stops letting air out, and then when this one comes up, it lets more air out, something like that. I haven't decided that exactly, but I'm just going to put this in while I've got the tank to bits and see how we get on with that. It should be quite interesting, and I think it'll perfect it. So at the minute it's running really well, but say if I go on holiday, there's a good chance of something going wrong. You know, it shouldn't do, but it could do. So when there is a percentage chance of something going wrong, it will do with fish. So putting that on will make it impossible for anything to go wrong, unless, you know, something goes wrong with electronics, which, you know, that's just bad luck. So yeah, let's get all this removed, get it all emptied and have a look at it. It's actually sort of mossed up on the top here. You can still see the water flowing inside, but it's got the algae on top. So we'll clean all that off and stuff like that. So let's get on with it. So there we go, that's the lid off. As you can see, quite a little bit mucky really. So it's actually surprised me, it's muckier than I'd have thought in here. So obviously this is just a plastic sheet where it guides your water down these little holes, and there's, you know, quite a bit of muck around. It doesn't look like any of the holes are blocked up or anything like that, but yeah, it's just surprised me how much muck's sort of on this piece here. So there we go, that's what the media looks like. As it stands at the minute, without digging in there, it looks pretty clean. I'm quite pleased with that. So obviously what I wanted. I'm quite surprised how much muck were in the top, but the media seems to be very clean. It's all very wet, there's no dry spots or anything like that, so it doesn't look like there's been out missing. For some reason, as you can see, I've never seen it in a ball valve, but you see there's water dripping around here. This ball valve doesn't close properly, I have no idea why. It's probably when it seals is not in properly seated or something like that, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do now is take all that media out, which is going to be really, really fun. So there we go, that's all the filter media out. So that's what the tank looks like. Actually surprisingly mucky to me. Obviously it's a white tank, so it shows it up a bit much, but yeah, I think it's, you know, because it's dark in here, I thought it wouldn't get any sort of life growing on it. But it does for some reason. There we go. So, in the 4 hours that it took me to get all that media out, an absolute nightmare, I came up with a bit of an epiphany. So my idea is to get a ball cock like so and put it inside the tank. So basically drill a hole in the side of the tank here somewhere and have this on the inside, and then this little brass bit here will be sticking out this way. So when the water level comes up, you know, the ball cock will come up like that and close, so it stops letting air out, and then when the air pumps more air in, it'll go back down and then it'll open up, forcing air out. I've tried it and it does seem to work backwards just as well as it works forwards. It's just whether it can cope with the pressure. There's not an awful lot of pressure, I don't know if it'll crush this. It may do a little bit, but I don't think enough to break it. I think it might work. It's just going to be drilling a hole in it. I hate drilling a hole in things. But I don't think I've got much other choice, and I think it may work. So basically what I'm going to do now is drill a hole inside the tank just here for that to go in, and hopefully it doesn't leak. It would be very nice if it doesn't leak. So here we are with testing the filter. Unfortunately I forgot to show the ball valve before I put the lid in just on top of it, so you can't see it anymore. But I'm just going to test it, see how it works. Hopefully I don't ever need to get to it again, and it works perfectly. Obviously, so this is the back of it. This is normally where the water goes into a ball cock, but this is where the air is going to come out basically. So it's working backwards. The water level is here. So what I'm going to do now is switch the pump on. And the air pump on as well, like so, and hopefully what we see is the water level drop, and then at some point this ball cock's going to open up and start letting air out, which would be an amazing thing to see happen. So you can see the water's dropping quickly, so I put the pump on and we can hear the water begin to flow through the filtration system. actually going to get any air coming out? That's the million-dollar question. Oh yeah. Oh. A little bit. Yeah, there we go. Oh. A little water in it as well. So it is kicking out a little bit of water, which is to be expected. I don't think it's going to kick out any meaningful amount of water. That's something I'll have to work out. But obviously water trickles in this pond anyway, so having a little bit of a leak somewhere in the system is not going to affect me, as long as it's a controlled leak, I guess. Yeah, it seems to be working really well. Let's have plenty of air, so I've just blocked it. So it'll obviously be putting in a little bit more air, so I'll just let it go. Oh, great. It actually works. So this is a lot simpler way than any electronics and stuff like that. Personally, I can't believe it. I don't know why I never thought of this before, but it seems to work. Probably what I should have done is put a cover over top of it so water couldn't get to it, but I don't think a couple of drips here and there is going to affect anything. So let's get the media in the filter and see how we get on. Right, so here we go. We're finally getting there. I've put the Bakki house media in and I actually can't believe it's pretty much filled it. I were gonna, well, I didn't think it'd fill it that much, to be honest. So that's £1,000 of Bakki house media. I wanted to put my zipper axe on top, but I'm going to have to think about it, whether it's completely necessary or not. I'm not sure. But also the zipper axe is actually a pain to get out. The Bakki house media goes in nice. Good stuff. Nice enough. Obviously it doesn't fit in a, you know, it's round, so it doesn't fit amazingly well, but I think it'll just make the water flow in all sorts of different directions. So I'm quite okay with that, I think. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let some water in. So to wash the media, see what muck comes out. There we go. Get rid of all the muck. There we go, running clear now, I think. So there we go, that's the media washed. What I'm going to do now is just put everything back together, and while I'm putting it back together I'm going to think about what I'm going to do with all my zipper axe. So there we go, I've had a go at putting some zipper axe in. So I probably could have put zipper axe in as I was filling up with Bakki house media and I'd have got a lot more in. But I'm thinking, because I've just put it on top, at least there's some in. And also, you know, the bacteria from this will make its way into the Bakki house media, so it'll mature a bit quicker hopefully. And I'm thinking that if I did like jam pack it with all this stuff and the Bakki house media and everything, it probably would get mucky and need to be cleaned out and stuff like that, whereas, you know, because the water will flow through it really nicely and really smooth, it'll be easy to clean out. All I need to do is purge it and it'll just knock any muck out. So I think this might be the best way to do it. The only problem is I can't get, you know, quite a lot of the zipper axe. You know, these two tubs are still pretty much full of zipper axe that I can't get in it, but I'm sure I'll find something else for them to do. And it's just a good test. Basically I've replaced the zipper axe with Bakki house media, so at least I'll be able to compare the two, and hopefully the Bakki house media is better and was worth paying out for. But it's, you know, just going to be one of them things, live and learn. At least I've got that thing done. I'm really pleased with that. I think I've finally got to a point where it's in a sort of final position, or it's going to run like permanently. And I can't believe it just came to me to just put a ball valve on it, so I'm pretty pleased with that. And let's get the lid back on and get it running, and make sure it all runs fine. So there we go, we're all back running again. We've got it all together. Just turned the air on and it's not started to come out yet. Hopefully it will do at some point. And so what I've done is, I was sort of worried that the water was just going straight to the end and then sort of going straight down the wall. So I thought, might as well just stop it going anywhere near the wall. So I put a ring of Cyperax all the way around the edge. And hopefully that'll just make sure most of the water lands in the middle rather than at the edge. I did try, I did a right good job of it. No, I stood them all up in this section and to see if they'd all like pool water over it, but water only got to about here, and then it started to just go straight down, so it didn't work. So I had to take them all out, and then just did a little ring round side. So as air started to come out now, a little bit of water in it. So I mean, we're going to get a little bit of water coming out, but it doesn't matter too much to me. I think I've finally perfected it, so I can literally pump air in and it comes straight out. No problem. I'm really pleased with that. No messing about. It can't fail as such. Well, it can fail obviously, but it can't like go wrong in the same way that like trying to make that let out the same amount of air as the air pump's pushing in. Almost impossible. So this way it should vary and do whatever it wants, and it doesn't matter what size air pump. I could put a more powerful air pump if I wanted to. Yeah, it's been a right job. The biggest job was taking all the Cyperax out. It's just a nightmare. It pretty much took me all day. But I'll find something to do with this Cyperax. I'll have to think, you know, there's a bit of room just here, maybe I can make another one. But we'll see how we get on with Bakki House media in it now. I'll keep recording the ammonia levels like I did before, and I'll keep feeding them the same and see what happens. So here we are in the basement with the filter. I have actually let it run for 3 days because I wanted to make sure it was absolutely running perfectly before I posted this video. And it is, I'm so pleased with it. I think we've finally got there. We're finally in the position where I'm not going to have any trouble with it, and I can leave it to its own thing and forget about it almost, you know. Like before I was worried that it was going to push all the water out and airlock my pump, burn my pump out and stuff like that. Now I'm not, that's not a consideration, it's not a problem, not something I've got to worry about. So this bucket's on it. I put this bucket on it to see how much water came out. It fills the bucket about every 20-24 hours or something like that. I could have avoided that by putting a cover over the thing, but never mind, that's just one of them things. It doesn't matter. It's very little water anyway, and I'm just going to let that go into this drain here. And put a pipe on it, and also the pipe quietens it down, so if I take that off, it's actually really quite a noisy thing, but you can't hear it upstairs, you can only hear it in basement. But yeah, so I'm really pleased, it's running lovely, and I think we finally got there. Obviously, because this is new media, over the 3 days the ammonia levels come up from 0.4 milligrams per litre to 0.5, so the ammonia's getting worse, but it's nowhere near a problem. This was probably the perfect time of year to do that, because obviously it's winter, so the pond's colder, so the ammonia level is really irrelevant at this time of year. So by the time summer comes, the media will have matured and we'll be spot on. So let's have a look at the Cyperax. This Cyperax is actually getting quite old. I think that's probably the problem I've had with it. It's really old and it's a bit tired. One of the things I noticed as well is there are a few, I think what happens is the water falls down because the level of the media were about here, and when the water fell down that gap, I think what it were doing is wearing a few of the Cyperaxes out. So as you can see, this one's quite weirdly worn, and there's a couple of them like that one here, quite weirdly worn out. I think probably Cyperax is just not suited to being in a river. This media looks pretty, you know, it doesn't look pretty fresh anyway. It's probably a bit too old to be, you know, if it were brand new media it might have done a really good job, but it isn't, so I don't know. But I put the Bakki House media in, and hopefully it matures fairly quick and really gets on top of these water parameters. But I'm so pleased with how I've set up this shower. I think it's as good as any shower, maybe even better, because it's not, you know, because it doesn't have to be sat next to your pond and being a big heat sink for your pond. Although this is pretty much a heat sink in the basement because it's fairly cold in this basement, but obviously not as cold as being outside. So you know, pond being at 14 degrees, it's probably been the lowest it's been for quite some time, but that's not a problem. Not a problem at all, not something I'm concerned about. I don't mind the fish getting a little bit cool, and yeah, so I'm very happy with it. If you like this video, then please like it. If you want to see more videos like this and fishing related videos, then please feel free to subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, then please put them down below. I like to read your comments, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.